Okay, for our second video in AP Statistics, for Chapter 1, we're going to talk about 4 common types of distributions. Throughout the year, we'll be talking about distributions, and a lot of the questions on the AP exam ask you to describe a distribution. And you need to always remember to describe the 3 things: shape, center, and spread. And so we're going to talk kind of about those today, but I just wanted you to be familiar with them. As far as shape goes, are there more than one peak, or is there one peak, or is everything about the same? And another word for that would be uniform. Is it a symmetric distribution? Could you cut it in half and it match? Or is the data skewed to the right or to the left? And is there any data that is just kind of out there by itself, not like any of the other? When you're talking about center, if you can think about center in this way: if you could choose a single number to describe the entire set of data, what would it be? And eventually we will locate the centers numerically for different types of data. And the last thing, the spread, that just means how far does the data vary from the center? Do we have a spread that's not very large, or a spread that's really large from the center? And so as we continue to study statistics, we'll learn a lot more about these 3 characteristics. So one type is symmetrical, and that would be the shape of a distribution. And that's exactly what you should know that symmetry is. If I cut it in half vertically, up and down, it should fold together and match. And a special one of these is bell-shaped. Also one called the normal curve is bell-shaped. And so the next slide is going to show you some pictures of it. So here's 3 examples of some data that is distributed and it's symmetrical. This first one over here is a bar graph that is symmetrical. If I cut it in half, the 2 sides would match. And I actually got this one off of a place that was trying to say, you know, their school was better than somewhere else because they had more people over here in the above average category. This one up here is your typical bell curve, symmetrical. And this one down here is a histogram, also symmetrical. This next one, uniform, also describes the shape, and is exactly what you would think a uniform would be. If people are in uniform, they're all pretty much exactly the same, except for their varying characteristics, like their color of hair or their eye color and things like that. So if I had a collection of data, everything would look like it's about in the same place. So the next slide is going to show you some more pictures of this type of distribution. This top picture, all the data is in almost exactly the same place, all across here. Same way with this one down here. And these are both histograms. Data can also be either skewed to the left or skewed to the right. And usually we call the thinner side of a distribution a tail. And so if one tail stretches out farther than the other, the data is said to be skewed to the side of the longer tail. Now, I always have had trouble remembering what's skew right and skew left. I always got them mixed up for one reason or the other, until this summer when I learned a trick. This is an example of data that is skewed to the left. And it looks, if you look at your foot, it's similar to the shape of your foot. So your left foot is the same shape as a skew left. So that's how you can remember it. And in much the same way, your right foot is the same shape as skew to the right. And so that's helped me, and I'm never going to forget it, so hopefully it will help you too. The last couple slides are dealing with bimodal or multimodal, and there's another one also called unimodal that's not listed on your handout. Unimodal means there's one peak in the data, bimodal means there's 2 peaks, and multimodal means there's 3 or more peaks. So here's a couple examples of bimodal data, because as you can see there's 2 peaks in each one. And here's an example of a multimodal, because there's 3 separate peaks in this set of data. That's the end of the second video in Chapter 1, and this is just a cartoon I found online, And so you can take a look at that and see what you think. See you tomorrow. Distributions.